economy bowls. What would you think? Okay, what would you think an economy bowl was? A cheapie, right? Okay, we're going to do an economy bowl, and we're going to do it every bit on the lathe out of one piece of wood. And it's going to be way thicker than this. But this is going to be an economy bowl. Now, what I did was I took a 2x12, 2x12, and laminated it to, or glued it to piece of walnut wood, George wood. Okay, I'm going to do this with a screw chuck. I've already done this just to get it round, so we didn't have to spend a lot of time there. Just plain old tight bond. This is a very quick demo. We got 28 minutes. We're going to make a bowl in 28 minutes. Finished bowl. Sanded, put together, the whole bit. Okay, the secret to doing this is we've got to cut rings out of this and be able to stack them on top of each other. Now, there's two ways to do economy bowls. One is to do it on a bandsaw, and then to do that, you have to have two pieces of wood. And go on YouTube and look that up. I'm not going to show you. Okay, so we're going to do this out of this hunk of wood right here. And we've got to get this so that we can stack it on top of each other. Well, if we cut them straight, they're not going to stack. So what we got to do is we got to cut them at an angle. So when we get through, we can stack them on top of each other. Let's see how that works. Let's make sure this thing's still semi-round. Okay, it's a little out of round. We'll square it up a little. I got to go faster than that. And we got to lower this down just a little. We don't have to get that perfectly smooth because we're going to mess with it a little. Always turn your lathe off before you move the tailstock. Okay, this first cut is just going to be so that we can start our angles. Okay, and we want to do this at 45 degrees or so. We can do all kind of measuring and so forth, and 45 degrees will be right about there. We'll just do it. So I'm going to make this first cut. My Vic mark doesn't do that. Okay, we've got a 45-degree angle now. We don't need that one. So we've got a 45-degree angle, give or take a little. Now then, what we want to do though is we want these to be spaced evenly. The theory behind this is to have a pencil and a ruler, and we're going to say this thing is about 1 5/8 inches thick. The whole thing, 1 5/8 inches thick. So we're going to start at the center, or from the outside edge, excuse me, and we want to measure 1 5/8 right there, and then we're going to go over here and do 1 5/8 again. Huh? For the kerf? We'll worry about that later. Yeah, I'll take it out and sand it. Let the finishing people do it. Okay. Now then, we want this to stack. So we're going to do the same type of angle on this. Wonder where that went. And here. Okay. Now then, we're going to kind of do this cut, kind of watching the one we've already made. We could do a bunch of measuring and go back here and measure. I can't see both the sides of this at once anyway, so I'm just going to kind of look at it. Okay, now then, obviously we can't turn this one with this one flopping around out there. So what we're going to do is, and we can't take it off, it won't come off, so we're just going to tape it up out of the way. Good old duct tape. No. I'm going to tape it to the back of the lathe. Yeah. Now we got to do that again on the other side. If you watch the demo the guy does on YouTube, he takes it and goes around and around, and he wastes a lot of tape. Yeah. And this doesn't have to be super tight or anything, because we're not going to spend much time cutting this other one out. Okay. Now then, eventually what's going to happen is this inside piece here is going to be the base. We don't want to mar this up because we've only got a thin piece here of that color, and I don't really want to see this color inside the base. So we'll cut this one now. I'm going at approximately 45-degree angle, 90 degrees more or less to the one I've already cut, but I'm cutting at a 45-degree angle to the center. Nah, that'll make no difference, and I'll show you why in a minute. And what I've done is I've made me a mark on my tool here, so I know when I'm getting close to the front, to the edge. Okay, so now we've got the pieces to our segmented bowl. Can't go that way, can't go this way, so now then I've got to there's the bottom, there's the top, there's our next ring. And we got a bowl. Ragged? Yeah, it's ragged. Well, we're going to fix that. I'm going to put it over here and glue it up real quick, and everything will be good. Now, granted, I probably didn't glue this too straight because I was in a hurry. So we'll see how. It looks like the tires on my truck. Okay, but we're ready now to start making our bowl. So what we're going to do is turn the lathe off and set our headstock, tail stock. We don't need a ruler anymore. Don't need that one. Don't need that one. Turn this up. And when it gets smooth, we'll quit. Come on.
My American Beauty doesn't do that.
Yeah. Now, let me go back to something else. We've got some pretty thick stuff here that we can do different things with if we want to. We can make a turnout lip on this thing, or put a beaded edge on it, or whatever we want to do to it, because we're pretty thick. But you can't be too thick, because right here's this point here, and where it joins in here is about half of what this is. So we've got to really watch what we're doing. I'm not going to worry about this being flappy out here. We'll fix that on the sand bow, on the belt sander, when we get down to this part down here. I got a belt sander in this box over here. And as probably you can see on here, see this right here? Can you see the top of this? That run? Well, we don't care because we're going to take it off. Now then. I'm just wanting to meet that next layer down there. And yeah, using the 2x12, you're going to have a lot of tear out, but you can fix it with a lot of sandpaper. Okay, I'll go down here and work a while. I'm not going to try to smooth this out. I'm just going to rough turn it. And see, we're getting down to a pretty small bottom. Okay, we got that pretty good roughed out. Now we'll turn the lathe off and move this over here. And we're going to do the same thing here. There's a way to do this so that you don't have all this vibration. The easy way to do it is with a Longworth chuck. So you get your bottom piece centered the way you want it. You get the whole thing centered the way you want it, and you go ahead and turn it. Then before you start trying to glue it, you put each piece in a Longworth chuck and move it up there, glue it, let it set, then put the next piece up with the Longworth chuck and set it. You don't have, unless you've got a big cone that you can fit in this, the Longworth chuck works a lot easier. We'll turn just a little bit more. About got all the vibration out of it. But, right there, that's ½ inch thick. So we still got a lot of room to dilly with it. So I put it on the sander over here. If I can get it off of here. I can get this chuck out. So I'll... And that's an economy bowl in what? 10, 18 minutes. And now this is not even close to finished, but you can pass it around, look at it if you want to. I didn't do a lot of sanding. Any questions? Mr. George and I worked on that. That was a collaborative effort. We took it out. It started out as a 1-inch board, a little over 1 inch. Yeah, we cut 3 slices out of it on a bandsaw. And then I made 3 different pieces, made 3 different stuff to put on the lathe, and just glued them together. Yeah, we run them through the planer to get them down thin the way we wanted them. We could have gone thinner. I kind of like this size. It looked pretty good, I thought. Kay liked it, so happy life. And that's how you make an economy bowl. Now, you can just use 2 by 12. All right, let's talk about that just a second. You can get any kind of wood. You can use a 1x. Doesn't have to be thick. With the 1x, you can get more rings out of it because you're not cutting this diameter or this thickness. You're not cutting that thickness thicker than the board itself. If you do, you can't stack them. They won't 45-degree angle to each other. The other way of doing these bowls is to take 2 pieces of wood, get them both identically the same, get your grain running the way you want it to. 2, say 1x's, however wide you want to make this thing be. I've got one at home that's 15 inches. I hadn't even glued it up because I didn't like the way it looked. But you make sure that the binding edge where that's going to come together is perfectly straight. You're going to run them through a jointer or get them perfectly straight and sand them even. However you can get it perfectly matched as a jointed board. Okay? You're not going to join them. You're going to lay them down and you're going to figure out the center. The center's where it comes together. And you're going to figure out your radius. And you're going to draw your circle all the way around. Then you're going to take the measurement of that bowl or that board, and your next ring is going to be that thickness all the way around again using that center point. Then when you get through, you take it over to the bandsaw. When you get all your rings drawn on both boards, you take it to the bandsaw, and you're cutting out half moons on the lines that you made at a 45-degree angle to the board. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay? Then, when you get through, then you do your segmenting glue. You take the half moon center that you had, and you glue it to the other half moon center. Now you got your base. Then you take your next ring, and you glue those two together at the joining, and you stack them. And you do that all the way through all of your rings. Yes, sir? Up to you. That would probably be what I'd do, is move those joints around at 90-degree angle to each other. But with this, you don't have to do that. Now, ragged. Of course, I didn't try to clean it up any. Any more questions? No, I on that one that's going around, I went ahead and shear cut it, shear scraped it, so I got rid of a lot of that end grain. Is the bottom? Okay, when that one comes around, look at the bottom of it, wherever it is. It's you want to make sure it's pretty flat. It's going to be pretty flat to start with because that's the bottom side of a 2x4 or a 2x8, 2x12, whatever you're working with. Okay, and I do it on a screw chuck because if you'll look at the one that's been going around, I also make a dent in it about 1/8 of an inch thick so that I can put my little decal in there and just set it in. It covers up the screw hole. You don't see the screw hole in here because you're not breaking the surface of this piece. And if we didn't use the walnut and we just used the solid wood, it wouldn't make any difference in here. You wouldn't be worried about marring this surface. Question? Anybody? We got 4 minutes to get this thing cleaned up and get out of here.